Welcome to Uncle Stu's neighborhood, where you will receive knowledge, understanding, wisdom, and humor. Uncle Stu asks to be respectful to all guests and panel members, for we all do not think, act, or speak alike, yet we can all be respectful to the thoughts and views of others. If you have a question for the panel or guests and panel members, for we all do not think, act, or speak alike, yet we can all be respectful to the thoughts and views of others. If you have a question for the panel or guests, please drop a Q in the chat and Uncle Stu will respectfully get your question answered. All super chats will get their shout outs at the right time during live streams. Now, let us welcome our uncle, Uncle Stu, the old man on the block.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Salute, 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 salute. Can y'all hear me in the chat today? Let me give a big shout out to RM, to Amethyst, the videographer, and to Vaughn, Bryant. Yeah, it has been a while. It has been a while since I have had to do a live stream. November was a huge month for me. It was a month in which I had to kind of take a step back and really get to really get some things in order. So let me just catch y'all up real quick in what I'm talking about. November was a hard month because November 11th was not only Veterans Day, November 11th was also the 1-year passing of my son. It was also the 6 months of when my father passed. So this would have been the first month that my mother had to go through her birthday. November 11th is her birthday. So she would have had to go through her birthday without my father. So that was kind of hard. And then, you know, again, in November, you got to go through Thanksgiving. And then you got to go through Thanksgiving with people who are no longer here. So we had to kind of go through that. And at the same time, trying to work out some YouTube analytical things, trying to work out some marketing things, you know, trying to restructure things dealing with YouTube, restructure some things dealing with my own personal and private life. I have been laying out videos and, you know, y'all make sure y'all see that video called I Survived It. That was a video that my oldest daughter put together, basically explaining things that happened in her life and how she succeeded and etc. But it also doesn't mean that I have not been aware of what's going on YouTube. Many of the different issues from the Deion Sanders to Brittany Griner, etc. But I wanted to do this live because, as you can see from the thumbnail, I don't really like to talk on people's marriages. I although I do deal with relationships, I really don't like talking on people's marriages. But this particular situation is extremely unique in one way, but it's also something that needs to be talked about in another way, because I believe too many times when we deal with a lot of different issues, we tend to want to speak to the talking points of these issues. Either we want to prove a talking point, or we want to argue a talking point, and we want to use people's personal lives to speak to various talking points. But I'm here to challenge some of those talking points, but I also want to narrow down certain things and try to give a different perspective, a different view on exactly this Derrick Jaxn and Danica Danae, I think her name is, Jackson. If you don't know, for those that may not know, Derrick Jaxn graduated from HBCU, got married several years later, and became a social media, let's just call him a social media giant in his own right. He developed a social media platform and where he was speaking to women and trying to explain to women about relationships and the different things that they was going through in their relationships. And basically he blamed a lot of men, and he was very hard on men, and absolutely no accountability for women. And he became a hated figure, especially in a lot of male spaces, Black manosphere. Many male content creators, started arguing with a lot of his talking points and a lot of his views when it came to giving dating advice and relationship advice, only to find out 3 to 4 years later, he became the biggest cheater. And, by him becoming the biggest cheater, a lot of his platform got hurt, but it didn't get hurt as much as everybody thought it would have gotten hurt. So Derrick Jaxn became now the poster child of hypocrisy. And when this came out, which is approximately 9 months ago, he went on a whole tour, apology tour, if you want to say it that. And he didn't really take accountability for his own actions. His accountability went as far as basically saying, hey, I messed up. I made a mistake. Me and my wife gonna get this together. Only to find out 9 months later, he's still doing the same thing. But he did something that most men don't do. He filed the divorce first. He said he's divorcing his wife, and he now has been seen with another woman, an IG model that he is very fond of. We're going to say it in that manner. But I asked the question, did Derrick Jaxn outgrew his wife? Did Derrick Jaxn upgrade? Now, the talking point would be that Derrick Jaxn grew into himself and therefore he outgrew his wife. Well, I'm challenging that outgrowing. Can you really outgrow your relationship? Or is there something that's weaning inside of you that you always wanted to do, but you was confined to do? Are we trying to give Derrick Jaxn a pass? Or is there deeper questions like men holding other men accountable, but women are not backing the men holding a man accountable? What does that accountability look like? But I would even go further. I want to talk about his wife. I want to really take a deep dive and really get an understanding, because she has been on the spiritual side. She has been speaking about a lot of things, and she has been very spiritual. We say in the Christian world, being all spiritual and no earthly good. Why has she been doing this, what some people would call a weird pushback and all this cursing and spiritual stuff? What's really going on? So I'm going to give you my angle, my spin, my thoughts. And then I'm going to drop the chat to allow you to give your thoughts and your views and your opinions and exactly how this relates to each and every single one of us in our relationships. Let's ask the question, dealing with Derrick Jaxn. Did Derrick Jaxn grow into himself? I can argue that Derrick Jaxn, from what I understand historically, he was a plain Jane, a plain dude, wasn't worthy to have a name. And now he gets on social media, he works out, and he finds out that he is somebody. The question is, who is he somebody to? One of the things that we got to be very careful with is allowing social media to dictate our true identity. Social media has been a positive, but it's also been a very negative thing when it comes to relationships. If you look statistically, we find that more relationships started to get declined and destroyed the moment an app called Facebook showed up. Facebook was the beginning tool that started divorces. And how do we know this? We can look at the divorce rate and when it really started to take place. Started to take place around Facebook when people started hooking up with old people from the past. And because they started hooking up with old people from the past, relationships started going south. And now we have it where social media has literally fogged our intelligence. It has drained us to the point where we believe if we got a certain amount of subscribers, certain amount of people who say they love us, or certain amount of people with us, we tend to get fogged up in our brains and our minds, believing that these people know more about us than we know about us. Derrick Jaxn became famous without us ever knowing he had a wife. None of us even knew he was in a relationship until it came out. So what is Derrick Jaxn? Derrick Jaxn, in one light, we could say, is a man who grew unto himself. But he did not grow into himself alone. He had a wife. Derrick Jaxn, we could say, not only grew into himself, but like Tia Mowry, he felt he graduated from his wife. There are some content creators that will say he outgrew his wife. I challenge that question. Can we really outgrow a relationship? Or is that something we use as an excuse to leave a relationship? I've heard many women say, well, we grew apart. I outgrew the marriage. I outgrew. What did we really outgrow? I think we need to ask ourselves, did we get married so that we can grow together? And what does that growing together look like? Or is it that one of us experienced something that we never invited our spouse to experience with us? Just a question to throw out there. But I want us to focus on her. Why is it I want to focus in on her? Now, I know that most people know me as a male content creator, one that advocates for men, one that believes in men's rights, one that believes in men's advocacy. But I'm also want to be fair. And I want to be fair on this particular point. What is his ex-wife going through? What is it that we're looking at when we're looking at her? I've seen this many times before. I've seen women who, well, let me get a pause. What is my background? I got 25 years in Christian ministry. I got 16 years being a Muslim, over 25 years being a minister. I don't really come up here quoting scripture unless I have to. But when I say this, I need you to understand, and I want to speak to women right now. A lot of you women has been taught a lot of teachings, and these teachings are what I call borderline witchcraft. What do I mean by borderline witchcraft? It means that you are being taught to be all spiritual and no earthly good. You are taught that you have equal power to God. When you run around and you say, I can name and claim things, I can name this and I can speak this and I have the power to do this and my faith can do this and the Bible says I can do this and I can do that. It becomes borderline witchcraft because none of us is over God. Whether you believe in the Bible, the Quran, whether you're Hindu, none of us, if we have a spiritual life, could ever say that we are spiritually over God. This woman has grown up with a trauma that happened in her childhood. And when people have trauma, they fight to try to understand why things happen the way they happen. They try to figure it out. And one thing that, especially within the African American community, and I know it very well, mental health is something that we don't want to talk about, or something that is not talked about. And the Black church, in many churches, especially what I would define as the Pentecostal holiness, the evidence of speaking in tongue churches, do not advocate on a large scale is mental health. Many of them teach that, if you got sickness in your body, that you can just touch your body and you shall be healed. If you got issues dealing with your mind, you should be able to touch your mind and be healed. If you got issues in words, that you should be able to bind up the spirit of those words and be able to cast out demons. And they use many scriptures to advocate or to justify that thinking or that mentality. And the more and more you get indoctrinated instead of educated into this lifestyle, the more you begin to really believe this. And regardless of what you see, because they say faith cometh by hearing, and by hearing by the word of God. And when we think this way, it means that the things we see may not be real. So we put in our heads that we can see things and do things and demonically attack things. And what this woman is really going through, and a lot of people will call it delusions, but I'm going to address that word delusion. What this woman is going through is something that we call being all spiritual and no earthly good. She really believes in her heart and mind that she does not have a mental health issue. There are, and I'll probably have to get the documentation for y'all, but she actually believes she does not have a mental health issue. As a matter of fact, she curses anybody that says she has a mental health issue. She rebukes anybody that goes up against her marriage, regardless of what you and I see, and even more so what she saw happening. Nielsen's counseling on Nielsen's things, YouTube is now Nielsen's Media, has been doing many videos dealing with a true narcissist and living with a true narcissist. And unfortunately, we use this word narcissism so loosely that the true meaning of it has been watered down. But when you really look at what a narcissist truly is and how a narcissist absolutely works, she is the prime candidate for being under narcissistic behavior. Derrick Jaxn is really our modern day churches and our modern day preachers, because they too have a narcissistic role that they play in the church. And in many of these Pentecostal churches, they even got it where you can't even do nothing without the pastor's permission. Can't get married without the pastor. You can't have a child without the pastor. The pastor has to approve of the man you want to be with. The pastor has to approve of everything, to the point where they become not only what's supposed to be known as a spiritual father, but they really become the dictator in your home and in your life. They tell you, in order to be more spiritual, you got to come to church more. You got to give your finances more. You got to do this more. The Bible talks about forever learning, but never coming into the knowledge of the truth. And many women are sucked into this mindset. They're sucked into this lifestyle to the point that church is one of the major reasons you don't have a man. Is a major reason why you no longer have relationships. It's a major reason why black men are not in church. And it's a major reason why black men will never go back to a building called the church. They tried to warn black women about this manipulative man you call your pastor, your apostle, your preacher, your anointed one. But in reality, he's nothing but a manipulative individual. And I think I could say with directness, a narcissist. And unfortunately, a lot of our community is stuck under a narcissistic pastors and narcissistic behavior that we have normalized and call it holy, holy, holy. Oh, yeah. I seen it. I heard it. And I could probably spend 3 hours going down the details of it. When you believe that God is only in a church, you already have not read your Bible. When you believe that only the pastor is the head of your house and not your husband, not your father, we already got problems. When you don't really understand what churches has become, a money grab, you really don't understand. I'm even going to say this. The sad part is a lot of women, especially in this space, has argued that black men don't hold other black men accountable. But I challenge that statement. Black men has been saying things about the church for a long time. Black men even held Derrick Jaxn accountable, held him accountable for the things he said, held him accountable for his actions. But do you want to know why Derrick Jaxn doesn't give, y'all don't hear me curse, but I got to say it. Why Derrick Jaxn don't give a damn about what we got to say as men in the manosphere? Because you women financially support Derrick Jaxn. You are the ones that keep him being the man he is. You don't give any more of a damn about his wife because you like looking at his body, his chest. You love the fact that he tells you what you want to hear, even if it's wrong information. I'm even going to go deeper because I heard this on another platform. You want Derrick Jaxn to the point, or a Derrick Jaxn type, that even if you're overweight, got oxygen tank on, you believe you can pull a Derrick Jaxn in your life. Therefore, you don't care what men got to say, because as far as you're thinking, us men is jealous of a Derrick Jaxn. You thinking we jealous of your pastor. You thinking we mad because we don't look like the man you want us to look like, but the reality is we can see through the man because a man knows another man. Let me say this to women, and I'm saying this as a preacher, as a leader, as a father, as a grandfather, as an uncle. If you go to church and that man cannot lead other men, he is not worthy to be called the leader of men, because a man will follow a man because he understands the leadership of a man. But a man that won't follow that cannot lead other men, you may need to think about who that man really is. Men know men. Let's break it down. Don't you women know women? You know, we're gonna stop the cap. Some of us men are stupid, so we not gonna catch when a woman says something to us. We may not catch a mannerism she does, but you women will, and you'll call it out. Nah, she didn't make you that lunch. Just be making you lunch be nice. This is what she doing, and you'll call it out from the top to the bottom. Nah, she don't have no right to be calling you at night at 9 o'clock talking about her problems. She want to talk about her problem. Let her talk about it with another woman. If that woman doesn't want to talk about her problems with another woman, there might be a problem. Same thing goes for men. If your pastor got you in church more than you at home, you may need to think about that church. If your pastor got you giving more money than what you need to be giving, you might need to be thinking about that church. So when I see someone like her, it hurts me 2 times more because, as someone wrote in the chat about the word delusion, it's a hard word to use because, let's be totally honest, we can apply delusion to many different things. So let me give you an example. Some people would say us that are Christians are delusional for believing that a man can walk on water. We would be called delusional to believe that a man can take a rod and separate the sea, and all of a sudden all these people can go through the sea, and then the people that follow them gets destroyed. That could be called a delusion. It could be called a delusion if you believe that one man, one woman was able to populate the whole earth. That can be considered a delusion. Let me break it off like this. For those that are Muslim, the Quran says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. This is for those that wanted to test my knowledge of the Quran, the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people would say that is a delusion for Muslims to be able not to drink water or eat food from sun up to sun down for 30 days, called the month of Ramadan. That can be a delusional way of showing your love and devotion to Allah. Some people would say that the people in the Nation of Islam is delusional for the way the Nation of Islam got founded. Some people would say that the original Black Panther Party was delusional for the things they was doing and trying to do. So we got to be very careful at calling people delusional, because based on the position you in, people may say you're delusional. So we have to understand that this woman, while looking on the outside in, we can say, hey, don't you see your man doing this? Don't you see that? Don't you see this? Your man no good. But we have to reverse her mindset. We have to understand that this woman is in a place where she is very spiritual. She has been so manipulated and mind controlled that she cannot see the forest from the trees. As I said, I'm a male-centered content creator. A lot of men in the red pill community has went through the same thing. Because just as Derrick Jaxn has done this to her, there's a whole lot of women that has done that to men. You went into relationships, you manipulated him, you did things with him, you told him many things, you made him believe that without you, that he is nothing. You may have went to college first, got your degree, experienced some things in college. Now you say you outgrew him. You done leveled up and you left that man. Just as Derrick Jaxn left his ex-wife. It's sad, but we have not, and I will admit, married people have done a piss poor job to you who are single. We have done a piss poor job at really telling you what real relationship is all about. We have put up a facade before you, telling you that things could be 50-50. And in a marriage, it ain't 50-50. There's going to be times where that marriage is 60-30. There's going to be times where that marriage is 90-10. You try to work towards the 50-50, but those numbers is like a seesaw. Yes, there's very few men who can actually pay 100% of everything. But even a smart man knows that if you could pay 100% of everything, her income needs to be the investment in order to level up. That's another stream for another time. And I'm only going to say this because I'm going to drop it because I want to hear from you, because this is a conversation in which can't really be done in a 1 hour live stream or a 30-minute live stream, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. So let me drop some stuff in this issue. Because like I said, I don't like judging other people's marriages, especially when I don't have the deep understanding of every intricate detail what goes on in that marriage. There's a lot of us as men. I'm going to talk to the men first, and then I'm going to talk to the women. A lot of us as men can become delusional in our own marriage. We can forget where we came from. Now, I'm going to admit, women probably forget more than men, but I want to talk to men right now. We can become delusional and forget where we came from. We can forget who was there when we didn't have nothing. We can forget who was there when we was broke, busted, and disgusted. We can forget who was cheering us on when we first got started on YouTube or social media or our own business or whatever endeavors we started with. We have a tendency to forget because we rise up and we might get a little healthier. We might get a little muscle in our arms. We might get a little chest and other people's looking at us and we're getting accolades that we never felt before. And this feels brand new to us. And we tend to look at the one that we're with and say, why you don't say these things? Why you don't do these things? And we tend to think that the grass is greener on the other side, and we lose our minds. We lose our minds. We eventually lose our money. We eventually lose our home. Unfortunately, I find this happening more with women, and I saw this a lot in the 90s. I see it escalated in the 2000s, and now it is fully born. Since this dynamic happened. What do I mean? There was a time where a man could be a blue-collar worker, making decent money, and be able to have a decent home and a decent family. She began to go into corporate America, making decent money, going to college, and all of a sudden she thought the grass was greener on the other side. And all of a sudden, divorces started happening left and right, left and right, left and right. We hear the term called hitting the wall. You got so many women who has literally given up their homes thinking the grass was greener on the other side and not recognizing that when a woman divorces a man and thinks that the grass is greener on the other side, she don't realize that grass ain't real grass. That's nothing but turf. You fall on turf, you get hurt. Fall on grass, it's smooth. I see so many women today who has what the terminology of hit the wall. The hitting the wall simply means that you've gotten to a certain age, you've gotten to a certain mindset, you've gotten into a certain groove of life that older men don't want you. You hear terms of older women saying, I want a man to chase me. That's a terminology of being in high school. After the age of 50, we ain't in high school no more. A lot of men that end up going through divorce and having to recover financially and mentally and socially, they're not going back to the days of high school. They're not going back to the days of college. They're either moving on with their life. Now, are there marriages that's happening? Sure. And that is a conversation that needs to be happening. Many men who's been through divorce, many women has been through divorce, has remarried. But that's so easy to say because we don't talk about the process of what those men and what those women who's been through divorce went through. They actually went through a reorganization of their mind and a reorganization of their heart and a reorganization of life. I would argue, I'll speak for me. I know I've been through a divorce. Now I'm going to say, thanks to another YouTuber who brought this to my attention, I'm going to say that, number one, I had a successful marriage in spite of a divorce. Why was it successful? Because I married my oldest daughter's mother. We stayed together for 20 years. We stayed together long enough for all of our kids to get out of high school and go on to college and begin their life. And my kids are doing very well today. And many people, they can't even stay friends for a whole year, yet alone stay in a relationship for 20 years. And remind you that this woman was my high school sweetheart. So if I really wanted to add the numbers, I can add over 38 years of dealing with this woman. That's called success. Then turn around, healed, leveled up, and remarried. So that's another successful record. So what is success? Being able to handle whatever needs to be handled and knowing that I have the maturity to handle it. Now, why do I want to go back to Derrick Jaxn? Derrick Jaxn is the one that's filing for divorce, but he's filing for a divorce on the basis that he got a woman. I used to argue, men, and I want men to challenge me, but I used to argue for years that we who as men, we can be pushed into cheating. We can be pushed into doing evil things. What we don't get from home, we find it in another. And I have to admit something. I was on the Real Breakdown, and Sister Rose challenged that. She challenged that argument. And you know what? I had to sit back and really say she's right. And so let me really break that she's right argument down. The Bible says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I spoke as a child, I did things as a child. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. And I'm going to tell you, gentlemen, if you are married and you really believe in your heart and your mind that the woman you with cannot satisfy you, or the woman you with ain't good enough for you, or the woman you with ain't right for you, I would challenge you just to go ahead, man up, have the conversation, and file for divorce. But I'm going to say this to women. A lot of women, because we know the statistics, 80% of women file for divorce. And a lot of you say that divorce has to deal with cheating. But I want to challenge that also tonight. Who cheated first? Did you cheat him by not communicating and then made excuses? Most of us cheat before we do the physical acting of cheating. We see somebody, maybe somebody gave us a compliment that maybe we're not receiving at home. Maybe somebody says we look good today and our husband didn't say we look good today. Then we start dressing up to receive those accolades. But is that a real justification for what's known as, I'm going to call it intellectual cheating? You know, is that an excuse for cheating? Is it? There's so much to this Derrick Jaxn, to his wife. MGTOW Universe says men aren't going to break up the set because he has a side chick. If he gets caught, he gets caught, but he has to get caught first. Let me say this, MGTOW. Here, and what you're saying is definitely partly true. I won't debate that, but I'm also going to challenge it. And here's what I'm going to challenge. And again, let me get some feedback. We have an argument sometimes in this space that says high value man has options. And let's argue that point right there. High value man has options. The question I have for you, MGTOW, is this. What is the cost of those options? And I know we said if he don't get caught first, but I haven't seen any high value men that hasn't gotten caught. I haven't seen that side. And the argument also would go, is the brothers out here that is cheating, are they all high value? Can we really say that Derrick Jaxn is a high value man if we use him? You know, what is the cost? I mean, I think we really need to flush this out as men, because if I get married, when I am married, I am making a commitment to say, I love the woman I'm with. I make a commitment to be with you, and I only want to speak to you. Now, if I got to break that commitment, then I need to be man enough to say, I need to break this contract. This is not a conversation for the meek. This ain't a conversation for men that has not really matured up into that intimate understanding of committed relationship. I fully want men to understand, I get it, what's going on out here in relationships. I need you to understand that I fully understand what's going on out here trying to find that right woman and trying to be with that right one. I get it. I get it. I get it. So I'm not naive. But if you find that right one, and let's say you do one of the things that TLA, because I have one, a prenuptial agreement. Absolutely. Protect your assets. I'll never deny you to get a prenuptial agreement. Protect your assets. I'm always going to say that. I'm going to say this for women. Not only prenuptial agreement doesn't mean he does not love you. Let me make that clear to women. Prenuptial agreement doesn't mean he doesn't love you. Prenuptial agreement doesn't mean he doesn't trust you. Prenuptial agreement not only protects him, but it protects you. And if you want to have that conversation, we can have it. Let me see. Amethyst, you say, what I'm going to do, I'm going to let Vaughn speak. I'm going to let Wally speak. You say, Amethyst, no prenup, no passion. Amethyst, I want us to talk about that. I think we need to have that conversation because a lot of women, if what you're saying, Anthony, or you're saying that if a man want to marry you and he presents you with a prenup, then you should marry him. I want to get clarity on what you're saying. What's up, Mr. Vaughn? I know there's a lot that I can say.
Yes, sir. Wow. Uncle Stu, it's a blessing to be up here with you again, man. We oftentimes chop it up, behind the scenes, and
Right.
we have some of the best conversations, man. And man, I just admire your perspective and your standpoints. And but regarding this situation, I just wanted to say this. And first of all, I always love to give honor to God, because He's like really the head of my life,
Right.
and the decisions that I make, I look toward Him for that information. But regarding this particular topic, wow, I'm not too familiar with this brother Derrick Jaxn. I've been doing a little research lately because it's been like the topic of YouTube,
Right.
but nevertheless, it's a topic that I really don't have to know him per se, but I'm very familiar with the topic, of infidelity. Now, the problem that I have with it, brother Uncle Stu, is the fact that when we get up on these platforms and through our hypocrisy somehow, we try to make it look like we're living one way when we're not. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
we have all of this advice for everyone else, and thank God I've been married for 21 years. And, I would have to absolutely say we're all 21 years happy. Well, not necessarily. Was all 21 years sad? No, not necessarily. But when you get up here and you perpetrate and have this pretentious spirit about yourself concerning relationships, and you have all of this advice to give to everyone, but at the same time, it's like your own marriage is failing. If I was in that position, I think that I would be quiet and ask God to help me in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it's a sad situation. Listen, I really don't have a rock to throw at this brother because, listen, if we were to be honest, many of us can get caught up and slip and fall if we put ourselves in those positions. I
Right.
just said it recently on Let's Talk the Better Black Life, Brother Clarence's platform. Hey, if I go to the titty bar on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you see what I'm saying? Leaving my wife at home, I'm setting myself up for failure. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm
Right.
a man. And listen, I can't put myself in harm's way and think that I'm going to be able to withstand the temptation of it all. Listen, hey, the spirit is willing, isn't that right? But the
Right.
flesh is often weak. So let's be honest with ourselves, And then listen, if you wanna eject yourself from the relationship, be a man about it, be a gentleman about it. You already know that this is something that you don't want to continue. Well, dissolve that and then go on about your business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
Why the embarrassment? Why would you drag someone through the mud? You see what I'm saying? Because all of a sudden now you're tired. You don't feel like continuing with the commitment. You see, this is where hey, I'm not in their household, so I can't really judge their relationship. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, listen, all of us, the Bible said that we have all sinned and come short of the glory of God. You see what I'm saying? And
Right.
so when we start to point fingers at individuals, now, I'm not saying let's not use this scenario as an example and as a learning situation. Now, if we're doing that to the situation, then it's more beneficial. But if we're just going to point a finger, you see what I'm saying, and throw a rock, hey, he who is without sin, let them cast the first stone. See, because we have all slipped. And if we say that we don't have no sin, then listen, the truth is not in us. The truth is not in us if we say that we don't have some type of, or never had some type of discretion, you know.
I want to piggyback on that because that is what a lot of Black men is upset with, is the open hypocrisy, not the mistakes, the open hypocrisy. This man attacked men. This man even went after Midtown University. What was that other pastor he went after? John Gray, is that his name? If you're talking MGTOW, I can't hear you.
Are you asking me? Because
no, I was asking MGTOW. He's up here as well. But he went after John Gray, you know, talking about his infidelity. And so you're absolutely right. We who come here, who give all this advice or whatever, we have to try to live at least what we say. You understand what I'm saying? Speak from your experience. That's why I said earlier, we who is married has done a disservice to those who are single. We've done a disservice because we don't tell the truth about every single thing going on in our relationship.
Exactly.
We don't talk about the arguments and how you get through it. We don't talk about the financial mishaps. We don't talk about the ups and downs of finances. Stu. We don't talk about, you know, how do you get through this and how do you get through that? If you go back and you even look at Michelle Obama and Barack Obama's relationship, which I may need to do another live and really break that down. Everybody don't know when Michelle and Barack was dating, Michelle was making over 100K. Barack wasn't making but 30K in their relationship, in their marriage.
Wow.
So in today's times, according to what many women would say, Michelle shouldn't even be looking at Barack Obama. But look what happened. So I have a video that breaks all that down. She's the one saying it. This ain't no research. She's the one saying it.
That's facts.
So, that's facts, right? So, you know, we have done. So when you say that, that's why a lot of men got upset dealing with Derrick Jaxn. The problem that I'm having, the struggle that I'm having is, in spite of all the evidence, in spite of all the truth, why are women still supporting him? Men ain't. Why are women supporting him? Which makes men even more angry. You yell and say, Black men don't hold Black men accountable. Then when we try, how can a Black man be held accountable when you women support? How can we change the narrative of the church when you women are running to the very churches we telling you not to go to? So it's a weird dichotomy.
Yeah,
if
you know,
we're
and listen,
do this, we got to do this together.
Yeah, and Uncle Stu,
yes,
Uncle Stu, you know, and I agree exactly with what you're saying. You know, recently, I heard a brother say that, well, you know, as men, we're not meant to be monogamous, you know, or monogamy. We're not meant to do that. You know, we're supposed to have several women. We're supposed to have this and that. Okay, well, if that's the case, brother, why in the hell would you get up in front of God and the church and make a vow to be monogamous? What's that about? You know, let's keep it a buck here.
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's for you, it's for you. If it's not for you,
right?
Stop getting up on these platforms, you know, with the hypocrisy.
Well, there's a catch-22 to that. I have to hear it in its context, and I'm gonna say why, and I'm gonna be honest with everybody. Europe and America is the only one that practice monogamy. Every other country doesn't practice that.
Well, I get that. I get it.
Even Bible talks about, you know, that, but there's rules to that. So I get what people are saying. I do. And I get what you're saying. So in many different ways, both of you in theory is correct based on how you're taking that. Exactly. I think the angle I'm trying to go is I only wanted to focus on her, which is kind of the flip side of what I normally would do, It was more of, I want people to show her a little grace. Other women, I would have said she's dumb, stupid, she's delusional, yada, 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 yada. In this situation, I wanted to try to give people a different angle of what this woman actually is going through and why no one is able to break through to her. So this is a deep thing where she's not even going to look at mental health as a solution. This is where I kind of crucify the church to say, you have delusioned these women to the point they can't see reality, which is going to damage this woman worse. And let's remind you, say Derrick Jaxn leaves. Say Derrick Jaxn gives half of his fortune away. Let's pretend he don't care about the money, right? What is her kids going to be like? They still got kids. So these are going to be kids that's now going to be stuck in another generation of this manipulation coming out of the church, a mother who is scorned and now really about to really lose her mind and really be super, super holy, super, super spiritual.
Yeah, and see, now that's the issue right there, Uncle Stu.
And I'm gonna tell you, so many
that's going to be a major issue to her downfall.
Right, and that's what we have
that spiritual aspect of it, where you become more spiritual than you are earthly. And we have to deal with reality. Everything is not just spiritual.
But the thing is, this is the in-depth conversation,
right,
that needs to be had. Why? Most people can't go there with that conversation. Most men really, to be blunt about it, most men don't give a damn. And I understand it. They really don't. They're like, hey, I don't give a damn. Hey, some say, I don't give a damn. I'm getting my passport. I'm out of here. I don't give a damn. When I get in a relationship, I'm not her therapist. I'm not her this. I'm not. And I get it. I totally 100% get it. You know what I'm saying? The EBH Black Show says they are losing a spiritual war. 100% facts. Let me put that up on the screen.
That's true.
100% fact.
And see the
right. But when I tell preachers what I'm saying here, oh, well, brother, we got to hold the men accountable. Damn. How much accountability we got to do when the women is the one financially supporting the foolishness? Let me hear from Wally, then let me hear from MGTOW. Because I asked MGTOW to come up because I wanted MGTOW. I don't know if he was going to push back on something or add something, but I wanted to give him his shot too. Wally, what you got to say to this conversation?
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good.
Sir.
Yeah, what's going on, man? Yeah, I mean, to Derrick Jaxn situation overall, I mean, I say it like this: we already knew what we knew. I mean, we are like, once we knew and once we heard of the position that he took, as far as being this underlining dude selling this message to only then sell a different message overall, we already know who he was as a person. So him leaving his wife, I wasn't surprised. Overall, I just wasn't surprised. Now, the fact that he pulled the trigger, that's one thing. But overall, I'm not shocked, because it just goes to show you, like, it was what it was. But as far as for her and like what everyone else is saying, like, oh, she was delusional, she should have left him and all that. Look, this is the difference between women that are been hurt and then women that, they understand what comes with the territory. And personally, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I want to challenge this terminology. What goes with the territory? I think we need to unpack that. I think sometimes we use that statement a lot. What goes with the territory? Being that I'm in social media and I may not be as big as a lot of other YouTubers, there's some things that I would have never thought went with the territory of being a social media content creator. There are things that I never thought I would have experienced as a social media content creator. And I will say that by God's grace, as I grow, what would I experience? What they say, new level, new devil.
Right.
So I can't always say she knew because I didn't know. I didn't know the work that it takes to be a real content creator. I didn't know that I would be attacked in certain ways by certain people. I didn't know that, people I thought was close is not close, and the fact that, Derrick Jaxn did what he did. I'm looking for women to take the deep dive with me and say, explain to me why this woman stayed. See, men is always going to say, and we can freely say, hey, I told you so. Hey, we told you this. We told you that. We got to take the deeper dive and say, what is the conversation we need to have with these women that are still financially supporting this man, who are sitting up there crucifying his wife, and he's no good. So what does this go to? This goes to the very thing that a lot of men say in the manosphere. They say women want what? The no good dude. And women say, no, we don't. We want a good man. You're running after Derrick Jaxn. You're not running after MGTOW University. You're not running after the dude that want to care for you and take care of you. You're running after Derrick Jaxn when he has a record and a history. So there's something else going on. There's something else that's going on that needs to be tapped into. The Black Show said she loved him unconditionally. It wasn't enough for his ego. That's it. Sisters, I'm pro-man, but I say this to both sides. Sometimes you can love a person and they just not going to love you back.
Well, we don't know that.
Huh?
But if I
go ahead, MGTOW Universe.
I am a believer.
Okay.
And I've had a lot of male boomers telling me this as well.
Okay.
You could be a pillar of your community, be a mentor, a role model for young men, and still have these hoes on the side. Love on your wife, take care of your wife, do everything for your kids, but you gotta have that side chick. I've been told that many times. Many, many, many times.
Now, is that your stance?
My stance?
Yeah, would that be your stance? That's my question. I mean, let's keep it real now.
I'm keeping it real. I don't I'm kind of divided on that. Because on one end I can see that, but on the other end it's like the way Derrick Jaxn did his wife, that was dirty. Like there's I guess there's a respectful way about having the side chick, and then there's like what Derrick Jaxn did. Like he cheated, say he wasn't going to do it again, did it again, and then left his wife. Like the dudes who I'm talking about, or the dudes who I was told about from the boomer generation, like they're never filing for divorce. They're never leaving their family. Let
me ask you this, because I hear a lot of boomer talk. And I'm
in my 60s now. So.
Right.
Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let me ask you this. And again, I'm not going to challenge it. When you say boomers, I need to know age. And when you say boomers, I also need to understand what boomer are we talking about?
We got some bad background sound. We got some bad feedback.
Because here's my argument. I hear a lot of this boomer did this. But then at the same time, what boomers are we talking about? Because we have this image, and especially when it comes to the Black community, there was only one type of Black community. That everybody was either all poor, we was all lived in shacks, or we got many variations of the Black community. We got very many variations of culture and community. And I think that too many times we tell a single narrative of the Black community, and we don't expand the narrative. You see what I'm saying? So we're quick to say, well, the boomer generation taught this, the boomer generation taught that. Then when I bring boomers up on this platform, because I'm connected to some boomers that has been on this platform, I don't hear nobody say a word to these boomers about what they taught.
Well, Kevin Samuels being a Gen Xer, he said the same thing essentially. And then, you know, guys in my generation, the millennial, older millennial.
Okay, now let me go what Kevin Samuels totally said and why everybody still missed it. You ready?
Okay. All right.
Kevin Samuels did say men have that high value men has options. That's what he said, right?
Yep.
But he also added that in this option place, A, it needs to be negotiated. B, you're not supposed to bring home no women. B, second, you're not supposed to bring home no kids on the outside, and you're not supposed to bring home no sexually transmitted diseases.
Yep.
I agree with all that.
Right? Now, guess what? Guess what? None of these men that is saying this is even close to that mantra. None of them. So,
okay. So, Uncle Stu, what are you saying? Are you saying they're lying?
What? As far as this, man, I ain't never heard all this stuff about high value men got options. I mean, you want to go with that? Hell, every man got an option. The question is, can you afford the option you about to take?
But when you say option, listen, when we talk about options, we're talking about the option of, you know, marrying a woman and having a relationship with her. But at the same time, we have options to do things outside of that union, that commitment. You know, is that what we're talking about when we say we have options? You know, after we've made a vow, you know, we still continue to have options as far as, you know, things that pertain to infidelity. After we've made a commitment, I'm just asking.
Right. For me, there is no other option. For me, my wife is the only option. If I feel I got to go out here and get me 2 and 3 women, I don't need the one I'm with.
And you know what? Listen, I would definitely have to agree with you on that. And I've often said this, you know, I'd rather give 100% of myself to one woman, see what I'm saying, than 20% to 5 different women. You see what I'm saying? I'm not as effective giving you 20% of me as I am when I give you 100% of me.
Right. You ain't gonna even give them 20.
But hold on. And if I'm willing to do that, then I need 100% of you as well. You see what I'm saying? Because there's both sides of the coin. There's 2 sides to the coin. You know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I love something that Men of Tomorrow said, and I keep this in my head. I always say it to myself. A conservative man live a conservative life. You cannot convert somebody who's liberal minded into a conservative mind. Now, I'm kind of switching up a lot of the words that he said, but it dealt directly with relationships. You got a lot of guys who want to live a conservative life, but they're chasing after liberal women. Derrick Jaxn is somebody who, in the character of, was never really conservative. He's living this lifestyle that is not conservative. His wife was trying to be religious and conservative. The oil and water don't mix. And
he was also ministering to liberal women as well.
Right.
Like, conservative women didn't need that type of like the upbringing would have taken care of all these things. Like, she ate mighty high off the hog of these liberal women, and she turned it out being just like those liberal women at the end of the day. She's not stupid. She knows she's getting it.
Okay, so now who is the brother that just spoke? Because I'd like to know who he is.
Oh, that's
Man
Part
of
of the
Tomorrow.
conversation.
Man of Tomorrow. Yeah, Man of Tomorrow.
Man of Tomorrow. Good to meet you,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, what's going on, man? Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yes,
What's going
sir.
on?
You know, because Man of Tomorrow, I don't know if you heard what I was talking about earlier. You know, I didn't want to focus so much on him per se, although I introduced the topic with him, but I was focusing more on her
Mm.
Yeah.
and why is not really why she stayed and went through. It was that what I call spiritual manipulation that I see so many women, Black community women, is getting caught up into, where it's like you're all spiritual and no earthly good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
So I wanted, so being that you're up here, can you speak to that? And then if you heard what MGTOW Universe had to say, see if you can speak to that as well.
Unfortunately, you have to understand that the online space isn't a space that even attracts decent men. It's a place that attracts inwards. So when they're talking about boomers and that pejorative, they're talking about inwards older men because there's a
Right.
lot of them within this space that don't bring absolutely nothing to the table except for sex talk, and they have
Wow.
broken families and all this type of other stuff. Like I'm very
Mhm.
overwhelmingly and brutal and harsh to older individuals.
You're right.
I mean,
Mm.
to a point to where I'd rather have no friends in this space
Mm.
rather than be around unprincipled, uncultured people. Like I don't have
Wow. Wow.
any time or any room for that.
Well, me
Right.
as an older person, I would like to say this, to just address what you said. That's exactly what I don't want to be in this space. You see what I'm saying? I've been through a lot. I've learned a lot in my 60 some odd years, and I would like to share that. Not to condescend or look down on people, but I do want to make myself available in any way that I can that could be of some type of help. Now, I know a lot of us older people, have not moved in these spaces the way that we should have, because what we do is we conform. You see what I'm saying? We conform to the narratives. We conform to a lot of things instead of just being flat-footed and upfront with the truth. And I absolutely have no problem doing that. Listen, let me be honest. I'm not a perfect individual. See what I'm saying? I've been married 21 years, but have I always been a good husband? See, that's the honesty in the conversation. What are some of the things? What are some of the downfalls that you're going to experience in relationships? But the thing that I did have for my wife, and I still do, is respect. Which we should all have respect for each other. And this is not what we're seeing in some of these YouTube spaces with some of these gurus. And like you said, these high valued men with all of these options. You see what I'm saying? And my message to the young ladies is, you should be the option. You see what I'm saying? If he is going after you and he's courting you, if he's trying to be with you, because if I had a daughter, I would tell her the same thing. Sorry, little girl. No, I'm not gonna encourage you to get with the guy that has 5 other women. I'm not gonna do that, daughter. Here's my suggestion. Get a man that's going to be with you, that's going to be dedicated to you, no matter what, when he makes that vow. And if he does slip up, and if it's a slip up, listen, come on, gentlemen, we are not beyond making a mistake. You see what I'm saying? But it shouldn't be something that's habitual. See, when it becomes habitual, now come on, now you're not being honest about the covenant. You're not being honest about the relationship, you see. So, and I feel bad about what Man of Tomorrow said, because I see the same thing in the older people that are in these spaces. It's like we want to sit and we want to talk like the millennials. We want to walk like some of the younger people. We want to be hip. We want to, let's act our age. Especially when the truth that we're trying to share across these mediums is crucial when it comes to these young people. You see what I'm saying? Some of the words that you say could weigh in the balance of life and death when it comes to the listeners. So I just wanted to share that, and I digress.
No, you're
All
fine.
right. So you
Hold on,
are
man,
100.
Hold
got you.
on, 1 minute. Jerome Whiteside, I totally 100% agree with you. That is my challenge as a content creator, is to be able to provide content that is going to be valuable, content that's going to help growth, content that's going to go beyond mere talking points and really speak to where we are and where we really want to go. My understanding, especially from the older generations in this space, who's basically not here, but the ones that are, this is how that space is. It's supposed to be more about male growth than it is supposed to be about how to get into a woman's panties. And I've said over and over on this platform, this is, if you want me to teach you how to get the box and all that in this marketplace at this time, my brother, get in the box. That means there's something wrong with you, not the woman. But if you want to talk about growing as a man, mentally, spiritually, economically, and that's what I'm trying to do. That's where my market is trying to hit. So that's what this platform is. It's not going to grow fast because I'm not going to chase every single story that's out there. I want to be able to provide quality information. And unfortunately, that doesn't grow a platform. Sometimes the market dictates, but it is what it is. Then I'm going to address Lucchese, who says he is right. Some of these spaces have most inappropriate discussions that are credibly embarrassing to even be exposed to. 100% agree.
I would love to have an example of what she's talking about, though, because the manosphere.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry, I missed what he said. Can you just start over? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Who you want to start over, Vaughn?
Is it MGTOW? I'm
MGTOW
not sure
Universe.
if
I was just asking. I would love to have an example as to what she was talking about, because the manosphere was created for men to have like a no holds barred, no filter to talk about whatever they wanted. That's what
I'm gonna let tomorrow speaker to that one. Go ahead, sir.
No, sir, that's not true. Like what you just said is the gentrification that happened to the space after this place was overcrowded and overran by those individuals who just wanted to hang out. Like what you just said was we just want to hang out and talk about foolishness talk. This place was always not about that. You had to have something of substance to actually say to be online. So like once we let, like the fake pimps and all these kind of other people in here who are of advanced age, by the way. But that's what happened to the space. It's like you have to understand what the space is about and the actual intention. Wait, I hear echo. Hold on a second.
Okay. Wally, if you got to go, Wally, I'll drop you down.
I think Wally wanted to make a statement before he left, though. He said he had to leave, but he just wanted to say something real quick.
Oh yeah. No, Uncle, so I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll explain with you tomorrow.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, okay, peace.
Yeah, it's just that people don't understand that people already have spaces to hang out in life. We were supposed to be here to do something very specific and targeted. Then it got overran by people who wanted to just hang out. So it got re-gentrified back into the black community. That's what happened here. Because if you look at most of the older individuals who are still here, the older individuals here are not the older individuals that you will hear on the panel for the most part. It's very rare that you hear individuals in this space of advanced age, because most of the advanced age individuals push and spread misinformation and disinformation. They really are not leaders, and they only do it so that way they can grow an audience based off of ignorance, not try to solve problems. Because solving problems is pretty easy, but everybody just wants to grow an actual platform based off cycling foolishness around.
Correct.
Exactly. And I would definitely have to agree with that, because that's what I've noticed in these spaces. Now listen, you have to understand, I'm an individual who wasn't really on YouTube and a part of all of this social media up until the past maybe 4 years or so. You see what I'm saying? So I'm born in the early 60s. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of these talking points I was not even familiar with. I had to really take my time to understand. So what are they talking about? The high valued man. I mean, okay, so you have money, so you have prestige, so you have a lot of different accolades, but does that have to do with you having values? You see, so those were the type of questions I was asking coming in the beginning. But as I began to listen more, I understood where the people were coming from. Now, I'm not really a manosphere follower or member. You see what I'm saying? I'm just a regular man who grown up and has experiences that he doesn't mind sharing, with those who can benefit from them. But there's a lot of talking points that I feel that are ridiculous and that we're wasting our time on, and I hear it quite often. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like we benefit more from a conversation when we don't just go along to get along. This week everybody says gold, so every show we're talking about gold. See what I'm saying? The next week everybody's talking about the color green. So for the whole month everybody's talking about green, because we go along to get along. And I see that spirit in these spaces quite often. And sometimes my spirit is unfruitful when I listen for hours, and believe me, I've listened for hours to conversations, because I really have a true desire to understand where people are coming from, especially the younger people. You know what I'm saying? You have programs like Fight Club, and you have different things in the space, and that I pay attention to, because in order for me to speak to an issue, I need to know where the people are coming from first. So yeah, I do. I listen to Fight Club. I listen to different types of things. I don't agree with a lot of what I hear, but I need to know, if I'm able to give an answer, then I need to have taken some time out of my busy schedule to listen. And the problem that we're having when it comes to generational gaps is because a lot of us older people don't take time to listen to see what the millennials are saying, or what those that are under them are saying, where they're coming from. You see, we're stuck in our traditions. You see what I'm saying? And that's all we know, because we haven't done research. It's all about what we already know. But no, life is a continuance of research. And so I'll just say that. I'll throw that out there.
Okay. MGTOW, let me just read this off to you. Just so that you know, Lucchese has been mostly known. She's very, very active in the manosphere aspect, Black manosphere. Most people that know her are people unlike myself, mostly content creators. She's now a content creator. I've done an interview with her. She's done interviews in other places as well. But so she's deep dive into many of the conversations that's going on in the Black manosphere. And this right here, when she writes, an example is those spaces that have allowed unruly women to be in those panels and start verbally fighting with men discussing man-related topics, is one example of what she was talking about. Somebody else said something, and
that's a problem.
Yeah.
No, it's not. The
reason why I'm just saying if you invite the woman into the space, why did you invite her into the space?
I've never known anyone to invite women into this space.
I'm just saying, it's just a question I may have. Why invite? She just didn't pop up. You allowed her to enter into.
Yeah. Right, but usually when those unruly women go on those panels, like the guys, the person, whoever's owning that channel, is usually setting an example. Like this is what men have to deal with.
Okay, gotcha.
Like these unruly women, like usually,
and I see them being very unruly, and I think it's unbecoming of their character. First of all, I think that if you're a young lady, you should you should act accordingly. You know, I see a lot of stuff in these spaces, and I try not to be the type of person that's so judgmental to where it puts me in a position where I'm somehow better than these individuals that I see in these spaces. But I do recognize the flaws, and I see it. And what I see, especially with the young ladies, it's like they have no guidance. It's like, who taught you? What did you learn? What type of value system did you come from up under? Because based upon your verbiage and how you speak and how you address people, apparently you were not taught. And these are women that are in their 30s. Come on now. You're a grown adult at that point. You're still picking your teeth with your fingernails and popping gum. Come on. What are we doing? When do we grow into maturity? When does that occur?
Man of Tomorrow, MGTOW Universe, I believe only one of you two can really respond to this. Let me say this to Black Show. I cannot really properly respond to that question. The reason I can't is because I've been on YouTube maybe about a year. A year and a couple of months, and I knew Kevin Samuels when I came in, but I wasn't really a consumer of his content. So I can't really speak to it because it takes somebody that got history. So I'm gonna let MGTOW Universe, Man of Tomorrow, speak to that one, and that he can speak to it.
The answer is no. He came here to organize a car crash because you knew the type of women that called his show. Those type of women that called into his show should never have another man, period.
Wow.
Let alone all the men that they've ever had access to, period. So we have to be honest with ourselves that because they wanted Kevin Samuels to pre-check the low-hanging fruit that these actually guys wanted to deal with. They didn't want to deal with women of characters because women of character wasn't really calling the show like that. Women of character was pointing fingers at the women who did call into the show with all these hopes and dreams and 30-some years old and 3 kids and need $100,000 worth of man out the gate to come fix their situation because that's what it's going to take to actually deal with them in their certain condition. So you have to understand that this guy was exploiting Black America. That's what he was doing. I know he was very successful at it, but you have so many unprincipled men who wanted to see that level of success because it made them feel some type of way, right? And that's what made you call in the Kevin Samuels show. That guy didn't have a degree, he didn't have a background, he didn't have a school, he didn't have any credentials at all. He was a guy in a suit talking crazy to women because that's what they wanted to see. Was a guy who talked crazy to women who had no credentials to help. Wow, the actual people who did go to school and get credentials, they couldn't get thousands of people in their live streams to come help them with anything. So the problem is the baseline individual within Black America who need to tune into that. And even having to ask that question, was he good for the space? There's nothing that I've said that you can't see from me. I've been here a long time, and I'm always hearing these questions for young individuals. And it's like every single opportunity there is to interact with the wrong type of woman, these men take it every single time. That's why there is no gathering of women with character within this space. And here's the thing. When the women do come here and they do talk, they don't try to correct other women. They only try to minister to men, which I think is wildly insane because most of these women have a lot of problems, but they don't try to go and because those women's going to go ham on these women in a heartbeat. But it's easy to minister to broken men. It's very difficult to fix your own kind and your own problem. Like me, I don't have a problem addressing the men because my talk is going to have the people who's here to hang out, and for nonsense you're gonna go find other avenues for that. But if you wanted to get out of these circumstances, it's very easy. if you don't want to get out of these circumstances, or if you want to be in a 50-50 relationship as your best option to deal with this type of stuff, then go hang out. That's what this place is here for. It's a way station for people with broken relationships. It's not a place that build conservative families. That's not what the Manosphere is about. It was about that in the first beginning. It's not about that now. We got to be honest with ourselves.
Wow, I can really appreciate what this brother just said, and I'm going to leave it right there. But I really appreciate what he just said.
Okay,
he just broke that down to me a great deal.
Okay, I'm gonna let you speak, MGTOW, and then Man of Tomorrow, don't leave, because I think a lot of people want to talk to you because they're loving what you're saying. Go ahead, MGTOW.
Absolutely, Kevin Samuels was great for the space. Not good, but great. A lot of his ideas, I think, primarily he helped men realize, the men that want to be productive. He actually laid out like a blueprint on how to get there. He would say, like, if you're not working at least 60 hours, I would say 80, to get yourself out of whatever rut that you're in, to get yourself to the next level, to get you where you want to be. This is the steps you need to take. If you want to be taken seriously, if you're running a business, this is how you need to dress. This is how you need to smell, so on and so forth. And he wasn't really, yes, he was disrespectful to the women after they were disrespectful to him. He would always say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, so on and so forth. So, yes, absolutely. His ideas will live on forever. No, he was not perfect. No one is. He did have his flaws, but yeah, he was great for the space. Absolutely.
All right. So I have a question for MGTOW Universe. I see you in chats, but it's very good to have a Kevin Samuels supporter that I could directly ask questions to. Okay. Did Kevin Samuels graduate from school?
Not that I know of. I'm not sure.
The answer is no. Okay, so when Kevin Samuels is giving you all this advice,
he never advertised himself as a therapist, though. He's never said he was a therapist or a dating coach or anything.
Okay, so who is he talking to? Well, okay, you lost on that one. All right, so the next issue that I have here, the next question that I have, did Kevin Samuels run a male platform or did he run a female platform?
I don't know. I never really looked at it as a male.
What?
I just looked at that.
90% of his content is about what, sir?
If I could just answer the question.
Women.
It's mostly about women.
How hard was that to just say women? You couldn't even give a straight answer.
Because it doesn't matter if it's a male platform or the female platform. What's important is ideas. Like, why are you asking if he graduated from school if he's not advertising himself to be a therapist? He never did.
Because if a person said he's working 80 hours a week and giving you all this advice, he never did any of that stuff.
Did he say he worked 8 hours a week?
Sir, the advice that he gave out, he was not following. He never did any of that stuff that he was talking about. He was not any of that stuff that he was talking about.
Well, he didn't say work 8 hours a week. I said that's what I would say if I was in a position.
Sir, listen. His advice that he was giving, he was not following. That's not how he got to be Kevin Samuels.
Well, he got to be Kevin Samuels 60 hours if you're already a millionaire. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Sir,
you don't have to do that.
He reached that level of fame in his 50s, based off of relationship talk. He didn't have a tangible career field outside of that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for your point. I mean,
okay. The point is substanceless people cannot be leading us anywhere. Okay, he ran a women's platform where he was helping the worst women in the world pass.
So he didn't.
Sir, I'm not even done yet. Yes, he said things to help men, but that's not how he became Kevin Samuels, though. That's what I'm saying about the level of compromise.
Though. That's irrelevant.
Wow, all this stuff is irrelevant.
Because the question was he good for the space? And I just told you why he was, and you said, yeah, he talked about those things, but then there's these other things.
He's not good for the space. He wasn't good for the space.
Well, we agree to disagree. That's fine.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that when you have somebody who's not who he say he is, he doesn't have the background to do exactly what he's doing. He's trying to organize this car crash between two groups of people that he couldn't help. Like, Kevin Samuels was not going to be dating the same women that he was giving advice to.
Okay. I'm trying to
He was
understand how
gonna
this ties into how this is good
wow.
or bad for the
Okay.
space.
Like I don't know if I'm being trolled or what, but it seems like I'm making valid points, and your only thing is I don't know how that's relevant. I don't know how that's relevant. I don't know how to like.
Well, because
Listen,
we're talking about the manosphere, you're talking about how he's talking to women. I mean,
yeah. So you seem to be cycling the conversation around points that I made, but not the overall issues that I'm bringing up here.
what
Like
is the
these are the
overall
type of
issue?
people. These are the type of people who fell into the Kevin Samuels trap. Okay, they think that entertainment and foolishness should be the vanguard of what we're supposed to be here for. These people, if they wanted to get to the money, to the productivity, he would have had that in his background.
He
That
already
guy wasn't.
he
He
laid out a
hold on,
blueprint for that.
hold on a second. He didn't lay out a blueprint that he followed. Remember, this guy was in his 50s with no discernible career field until that average at best video. Okay,
I don't know what that man was doing before he started his YouTube channel. Do
that's
you?
my point, sir. That's my point. I'm telling you. You don't
Okay,
repeat
but
my point back
so
to me.
so you saying
And try to
that
make it like
working
it's your
so you
point.
saying hold on boy so you saying that if you don't have any money that working 2 jobs so you can get your own place in the car is bad advice.
No. Let me see if I can
Oh my
bring some
God.
clarity. Let me see if I can bring some clarity to the argument.
Wow.
What he's saying, MGTOW, is similar to what my mentor would tell me. Okay. Success principles matter. And what that means is, we say, show your resume. So if you told me, this is what you need to do to sell a house, right? And I'm listening to you, I either have to know that you've sold a house, that the information you've given is accurate, versus you picked up a book, read it, and just said, this is how you sell a house, but I've never did what I'm telling you to do. So what he is saying is there was a lot of things that was being told that he did not personally have a history of doing himself.
Well, he don't know if he didn't do it himself.
But
Okay.
Okay, but that's
Well, if
okay.
he knows if he didn't do it himself, I would love to hear how he knows he didn't do it himself.
Okay, no, see, but that's what Man of Tomorrow's argument. It would be okay. Let me ask you this, MGTOW, have you ever been in the military?
No.
Okay, I've been in the military, right?
I have
So
to.
if I'm sitting back, right, and you're telling men go into the army,
Right.
if you do this, this was gonna happen, this was gonna happen, this was gonna happen. You telling them they're gonna make rank, they're gonna make from E1 to E5 in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Man of Tomorrow, we've been in the military, right? And we sitting here going, who the hell makes 4 ranks within a year in this branch, on that branch, on this branch? We will catch the foolishness.
Right, but I understand.
But do you understand where his argument is coming from?
I understand the argument, but the flaw is that you know that I'm full of crap when you hear that. You know that I'm full of crap.
But
Wait a minute. Whoa. What?
No, MGTOW, I think the argument, it flips, because and this is something that I had to learn. Can I necessarily blame you, the consumer, for not knowing what I'm spilling out if you've never had the experience? You understand? If I sit here and I'm telling people something wrong and they don't have the experience to know what's wrong, they're going to follow it. And do you understand? That just doesn't go for Kevin Samuels. That goes for a lot of people. The barrier to YouTube entry is what? You don't need a degree. You don't need none of that stuff to be a YouTuber. Now, nobody is, he's not denying, like, if you say, hey, this is what Kevin Samuels taught me, and here's the results, right? Let's just say in your life. Okay. There's not that none of us on this panel can say, So the reason I want to say that is because, let me bring this comment up. It says, sadly, the chaotic women become the rule rather than the exception, and that they is what everybody is using as an example of a specific community and or race. So what that goes right in line with he is saying that the example of the women that was coming up there and the example of the women that was coming to get all of this advice, information, whatever you call it, was not the rule of women that are out here. Do you understand that part? Which I'm gonna be honest with you. I never in my life ever, including my wife, ever had a woman ask me, do I make six figures? That is something I ain't never heard.
I haven't heard that either.
I've never heard it. You know, in all of my years, I've never heard that.
Right. And
until I got on YouTube. I'm sorry.
Right.
Until I got on YouTube.
And the only thing I've ever heard a woman ask me is, do you have a job, a place to stay, and a car?
But you know what, Uncle Stu, you know, when I listen to some of the talking points that we harp on in these spaces, you know, I come to find with just with my experience of living that they're so contrary to actual life, actual reality of how people are living outside the YouTube space. And nobody wants to talk about that. You know, it's like, I don't know, we've gotten this vacuum of we put some information out there, and it's like we're in a loop, and we just keep going around in a circle like a dog that chases a tail, never catching it. And so where is the understanding? Where is the fruitfulness out of it all? You know? And I didn't mean to interject, but I when it comes to Kevin Samuels, I've decided not to say too much because I have my own opinion on that. I didn't agree with a lot of his talking points. I didn't agree with a lot of his approaches when it came to how he spoke to people. But there were some things that I could say, well, okay, I can agree with that. But at the same time, overall, I'm the type of person, listen, don't tell me the truth 8 times and then lie to me on the 9th time. See, now you have totally discredited me trusting you and believing in anything that you have to say. So, I thought that we were on the topic of this brother and his indiscretions in his marriage. I guess we'll get back to that. But, when it comes to Kevin Samuels, yeah, rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace. He did what he did while he was here. And I can't do a 8-10 hour stream trying to defend this brother, whether I agreed with him or not. He did what he did. He was who he was. You see what I'm saying? Some people agreed, some didn't. You see what I'm saying? Now, guess what? His life is gone, but life still moves on. And so, you know what I'm saying? So
well, the reason his name came up was because somebody asked a question, and I made it clear I can't answer that question. I let someone else answer that question. Is just like if I go back and use Jesus. Some people loved him, some people hated him. You have to hear both sides of the love and the hate. I don't have the history. You understand? I can't speak for or against because I don't have the history. I'm too busy trying to do, if you want to call it, my own thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But let me see. Hold on. There was some other stuff that was being mentioned.
How about last call? I haven't heard from last call at all.
What's going on,
he's part of the panel, right?
Hey, how are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you real good.
Okay, thank you. I think Uncle Stu, hey, how is everybody doing, by the way? And I appreciate you letting me come up.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it comes down to something that I was taught when I was being mentored when I was much younger, is the difference in between astronomers and astronauts. And both are obviously very important positions, but one person studies from, office or inside their laboratory or from their telescope. And then the other person is the actual person that's actually doing the work out in the field. And while they both may describe a particular situation differently, they can both be right and wrong at the same time.
I like that.
So that's kind of the analogy that I would use with Kevin Samuels. Yes, his background, he may not have had an education. I've had experience in academia, and a lot of those that have, depending upon what it is your background is, by the way, that'll be the disclaimer. But a lot of people that have higher education, I notice they become more detached when it comes to like street smarts. I've seen a lot of battles in academia for like competitiveness and wages between business teachers, and then you have people who teach the type of like art. Why don't I get paid as much as a business person? Well, what pays the bills at the end of the day? So it's making a comparison in between two things that are completely different. And as far as while Man of Tomorrow, I believe you were saying that most people that were consuming Kevin Samuels content were women. I don't know what the analytics were on that, so I can't say for or against.
That's not exactly what I said.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
said that his content, the people he was trying to help was women, not men.
Well,
I would disagree with that, but go ahead.
I would say
Okay,
I would yeah.
So
Go
most
ahead.
of his guests, most of these clips that are going on around on the internet, like I don't have to watch the show to know what people liked about the show. People seem to have a very tough time with understanding that you watch the show, you consume the show to watch delusional women get brought back down to reality. That was the allure of the show. Most of these cowardly men who could not say this to their wives or girlfriends were the ones tuning into this show to watch a guy say something to women that they cannot say to their own woman.
That's one
And
hell of an
expect it.
assumption.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's true. It's
About
true,
an
by the way.
audience. I mean, you don't know the audience.
I'm just
what are
saying
we
it's
doing?
true, by the way. It's
Okay.
true, by the way.
Could
Because at the
I
end of the day, these are non-cultural transferable skills. You don't have Kevin Samuels of Asia, of Latin America, nowhere. It's a very specific niche in a very specific area.
It's a good reason for that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, because here's the thing. None of these women that were in this show, that called into this show, that needed this help, were conservative women.
None
Brought
of them?
up. No.
Zero?
These women who needed this type of help from a guy that they knew that couldn't help them, it's very clear that there's a lot going on with these people that was not remedied by a father figure within their life. The 3 and 4 kids, by a couple different people, by needing $100,000 man out the gate. Men who raise their actual daughters don't have daughters that end up acting like this or asking for things like this later on in life. They just don't.
could I I'd like to respond to the first thing. Especially when it comes to mentoring and teaching. When you put the information out there, you kind of relinquish the responsibility of how people use that information. So you can teach someone a good way to do something, and then when it gets reused again, then you kind of relinquish the responsibility. So I understand your argument with the original live streams that Kevin Samuels did, and then you have all these other YouTube channels that are taking the clips that are showing those highlighted things that do become very popular, that does unfortunately show a lot of stuff in a negative light, not just, the women that were occasionally or brought up on a consistent basis of that show, but just
All
in
right.
general.
Okay, sir. You seem to have evaded every single point that I've made and answered whatever point that you wanted to answer. Could you
Well,
answer my
I know
criticisms of what I just said?
I'm answering them one at a time, so I'm trying to get there. So which one would you like me to respond to next?
I can't keep going
hold on.
with it. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, let's go back to let me switch something up because I need to know. Hold on. We're going to switch it back because Black Show said something. He wants to go back to, where is his comment? His comment was go back to Derrick Jaxn, and he said having smoke. And I just want to say, Black Show, what happened was I was answering that question about the Kevin Samuels. So that's how that took off from there. Let me give some light to Luke Hazy, who says he helped Just Pearly and Allie. I don't know who Allie is, from the Real Femme Space.
Sure did.
And also the lead attorney. So she didn't understand that part.
What does it have to do with the black manosphere men fixing their own issues?
No, don't try to move the goalposts. Because you said
that's not moving the goalposts.
No,
that's exactly on the point that I'm on.
You said, sir, you didn't help any woman. You said that. That came out of your mouth.
Hold on a second. You're misconstruing my point, by the way.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What I am saying is these other people that they've just named also are not helping men with anything at all. I understand that he helped other entertainers be other entertainers, but that's not the point of the space. There's a lot more to this question.
Who's helping
hold on,
men?
sir, hold on a second. So the original question was that we keep evading to make other points that you think are good for you is, was he good for the space? I
didn't evade that point at all.
Okay, that's what the conversation, sir. I'm going over where the conversation was because you keep switching the points and throwing things in. So that's where we're at before. Was he good for the space of Black YouTube? That was the original question. MGTOW Universe, if he's still here, he answered the question in a way of the affirmative of saying yes. I answered the question in the negative of saying no. I gave a why. He gave a why. And all these other whys end up being not really trying to help men. And then he couldn't answer a simple question about, did he run a man's platform or a female platform? Completely evaded the question.
Because it's not relevant.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
The black manosphere. Oh my God.
Because if you want to say if he ran a female
Stu, hey man, you have a really nice day, man. I really don't run into men like this, and I don't want to go over this again and again because I'm trying to get the conversation back on task about what this actual thing is, and all of a sudden he's just throwing in things all over the place. Like, I can't be around men like this.
Well, let me just say this. If I could just interject for a second, man of tomorrow, man, listen, I appreciate everything that you've said. I just try to sit in the balance and be quiet because I've already made my expression and my opinion about Kevin Samuels. But I definitely appreciate your perspective. Definitely. So I would hope that you would, kind of stay around a little longer because I'm interested in hearing more of what you have to say. Now I didn't intend the conversation, or I didn't know that the conversation would, sphere off into a whole full-blown Kevin Samuels conversation. But at the same time, hopefully we can get back to the topic at hand.
Yes,
and let this just be a little shift that we had in the conversation.
Okay, so here's the thing, sir.
Yes, sir.
Every time you discuss Kevin Samuels, you have disingenuous men that pop out of the woodwork and try to defend what he's doing. They all of a sudden forget what type of show he had. They all of a sudden forget the type of women that he invited on. They all of a sudden forget how he humiliated men on his show. They conveniently forget about all of those things.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's very hard to be here on a platform where you repeatedly have people who don't know what the conversation is, and it's a constant derailment. And you give an explanation, and then they skip over the explanation and answer the question that they want to answer.
Now, man of tomorrow, man of tomorrow, I get exactly what you say. Pretty much 100% of what you're saying, I agree with. You see what I'm saying? But is there a way that we can get off of this particular Kevin Samuels topic and get back to the topic at hand and see what we, how we can benefit from the topic that was at hand?
Yes. Okay. So
don't want you to leave, my brother. I want you to stick around.
No, it's just that whenever you discuss Kevin Samuels, the defense force of disingenuous men come out and do this everywhere on YouTube. It's not just here. It's every time you discuss this issue. Every person who directly not understand what they were watching, always act like this whenever they're online. So you're correct. It is best to just change the topic
Yeah, I
because
try to
you
stay away from it because,
yeah,
I could
yeah.
hurt people's feelings. People
Yes.
will fall out about, they will fall out
Yes.
with me
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
of my viewpoint of Kevin Samuels. So I've learned to just kind of, let it be, let the brother rest in peace. He did what he did do. And you know what I'm saying? I can't relive. It's like we're reliving a thing over and over again when it has passed. Listen, let's admit it's past. You see what I'm saying?
But
Now we're still trying to keep it alive. And I get it. But just like you said, man of truth, what was the content really about?
yeah.
So with that,
And people couldn't even admit
listen,
it.
I don't want to
They
get too
couldn't
much
even admit
further
that.
into it. So I digress until we get back to the topic at hand. I just wanted to say that, but I do digress
Topic at hand.
until we get back to the topic at hand.
Top, if we spin it around and we go back to the topic, I still think everything that's been discussed, and that's why I kind of let it go, in the manner I let it go, because at the end of the day, my question would be, what are we doing and what do we need to do in spite of the numbers? Because from a content creator's perspective, just to give it to everybody that's not content creator, if you want to be successful on YouTube, in theory, you need numbers. In theory, you need an audience. In theory, you need to grow. And if you don't grow and people's not financially supporting you, AdSense is not going to always get you the money you necessarily need to be successful, yet you want to be a help. The question becomes, how do you break that YouTube algorithm and get people that need the information to grow versus not grow? Goes right back to the original conversation of dealing with Derrick Jaxn's ex-wife, which is, how do you get her to hear if she doesn't have the ear? If she's already she will push back and say she's not delusional, but we're looking outside in. There's so many of Derrick Jaxn's wives out here that how do you deal with that if you can?
I mean, it's hard for me to have sympathy for Derrick Jaxn's wife.
Okay.
She knew the product that he was selling. She knew the people who wanted to show up to hear about his product. She knew the millions of views, these people around. I'm just saying, she knew what type of individuals he trafficked in. Like, I don't think this is, well, even the last time when he supposedly got caught cheating, and they came out, did the joint apology thing. I really don't like, if you messed up, you're gonna be sitting there by yourself explaining it. I'm not gonna be there with you. If I messed up, I explain myself. She messed up, she explained herself. There's no reason for her to be putting herself on a humiliation type tour because of his actions. But she knows what type of man that he was purporting to be online. She can't say that, I don't know how he would end up with that. I'm like, you have to know that this guy was trafficking in information that was going to bring a certain crowd. And at some point, you need to stop. You need to open your eyes to that. I mean, like, you can't just play this, I'm religious and I don't understand how the world works. I'm just going to be here and just be me. And I'm like, okay, this guy is thrown like plenty of underwear in his direction. Plenty of it.
So it goes back to what you said, MGTOW, about she knew the game. Basically, she knew the game coming in.
Was he doing that when they were married? Was he doing his social media stuff when they were married? Before they were married?
I think when they got married, because I think they only been married 4 years. So I think, and to my knowledge, now I've
known for him for at least 7 or 8. So
7 or 8?
I don't think he was married when he first started this with her.
Okay.
But here's the thing here's the thing that intrigues me though. It's like, how do you be so spiritual? How do you claim all of this spirituality and discernment and you overlook all of these red flags that are presented to you on a continual basis?
Let me throw
Come
a
on,
monkey
ladies
wrench.
and gentlemen.
Yeah,
What are
let
we
me
talking
throw a
about
monkey
here?
wrench. Is this a game she's playing in order to build up her media network?
Yeah, Probably. I mean, if that's what her end goal is.
Because if she's that way, right, and she can gather the women that are hurt and whatever, been through what she's going through, how big can her platform get?
I mean, but this is what we're talking about, building platforms off of pain and destruction, which I just don't have any type of care for any of this. And this is why the previous conversation, I took it into that direction, because people like it for the entertainment aspect of it, but they don't look at the multiplier effect of how many broken people does it take to create XYZ type of person.
Yeah. Man,
and at that point,
that's something to look at.
Yes, it is, and that's where the real integrity comes in. At is how many broken people does it take in a specific culture to create a person that talks to someone about basic things that they should already know. There's something really wrong here that people are capitalizing off of with this so-called platform to help people. I mean, Dr. Phil has a show. Does Dr. Phil talk to well-meaning families? Obviously not. He goes out and find the broken of the most broken and put them on TV for entertainment purposes. And he might can help, but at the end of the day, people are tuning in to watch what? They're tuning in to watch messed up families say messed up things, and Dr. Phil try to help those people any way that he can. Again, not helping.
If let me throw this out there. Then what is the purpose? What would be the purpose of a platform if you're not helping people?
It is to ingratiate yourself into the conversation with no responsibility of overall helping these people. That's exactly what it is. A person who want to act like a credentialed individual with no responsibility of helping the people that they're actually ministering to. Base, case, and point. That's why I'm against it all in all fashions. Unless you're a certified something or have some type of life experience that you want to impart that can be verified. Other than that, the stuff is just racketeering and entertainment.
I think there are those bad actors out there. Hell, I would even say most of them are. But there are people out there, credentialed or not, because we've seen people who are credentialed on social media literally showing their ass. But yeah, I do agree in general.
No, she was fired, by the way.
Oh no, there was more than just her. It was other black women as well. But yeah, in general, yeah, I agree that it's mostly entertainment.
I like that.
But I'm sorry, what was your question? What was your question about the wife again? I wanted to answer that directly. I apologize.
My question,
yeah.
He hit it on the head. I was asking more. He answered what you said. He backed up what you said about she's culpable. She knew the game coming in, and he said it also in a different way. And I compared the two, and I'm like, you know what? Y'all both hit me with something that I never really saw it in that angle. So it's like, yeah, I guess she is culpable in her own way. So
now, didn't you ask something about Derrick Jaxn and how he could be held responsible if women are still supporting him, or how?
Yeah, I asked that earlier. Yeah, I said a lot of women would argue that men do not hold other men accountable. Mm-hmm. And I said it is impossible for men to hold Derrick Jaxn accountable when women are financially supporting the very men you want men to hold accountable.
Well, he's saying what they want to hear. That's why.
Exactly.
Correct.
It's never.
I really don't think that any woman, like, what I got out of Derrick Jaxn was any woman I've ever caught sharing Derrick Jaxn's content, I stopped doing business with them immediately. I thought there was something mentally deranged and wrong with people who thought that they needed to listen to somebody like Derrick Jaxn. I love them for that reason. It really helped me clean up my timeline and Facebook and my business actual interactions with these people, because most people who would actually listen to that person would end up doing exactly what Derrick Jaxn did at the end of the day and end up justifying it in some BS way too. There's a clear character flaw that he brings out in people who actually watches his actual content. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's deep. All right. Well, let's do this, gentlemen. Let's get last words. And as you can tell, man, tomorrow has been a while since I've done a live stream. So I
Yeah, same
definitely,
here.
It's
I
good to be
definitely
back
got to get
on.
back into the flow, you know, of doing it and coming up with decent content. Jerome Weiss, I want to thank you, my brother, for coming here, and definitely shoot me an email, man. If you got some topics you want to discuss, you got some things, you want to see, send it by my way, because again, I always want my platform to be more on a higher grade, more on the intellectual, and really, dealing with those issues that's really going to help you in outside of YouTube. So definitely hit me up. All right, MGTOW Universe. Give it to me, MGTOW.
Thank you for having me. Enjoying the conversation. I think Derrick Jaxn will continue to be Derrick Jaxn. Yeah. Thank you for having me, and you have a good evening.
All right, hey, MGTOW, appreciate you, man. You've been a great supporter, man. You always have, and you still are. So I'm just happy that you came up here because, again, I think everybody needed to hear from you. They need to hear your thoughts, your views, your opinions, and the fact that you and Man of Tomorrow may have disagreed, on many different points. The fact of the matter is people got to see two men talk.
Yeah.
You understand? Not cuss each other out, not, one is and then start character assassinating each other.
Well, he did call me disingenuous twice.
Huh?
He did call me disingenuous twice. I didn't call him any names.
Okay.
There's that.
The points that you're making were.
Okay.
What?
You said disingenuous people, and you were talking about me. But okay.
Okay. Well, I apologize. Last call for insight. What you got to say, sir?
I think it was. Oh no, I think it was definitely interesting to hear everyone's opinions and everything, and especially for Man of Tomorrow, just because I expected when he first had explained his thoughts regarding when Kevin Samuels was providing his channel, and then I was surprised to hear regarding the Derrick Jaxn portion. So it's very interesting to hear everyone's thoughts on even when watching a channel, or depending upon how the person themselves are moving in real life compared to the message that they're putting out there. I think it's great that you not only allow us to come up here, but also to share these opinions and thoughts and see different perspectives.
Yeah, it gives me an opportunity at the end of the day to go back, watch the video. It's more than just editing. I have to go back to re-listen to the conversation and really take in what people have said, how they said it, why they said it, and really become that open intellectual conversation versus, well, if you don't follow my way, I don't like you. If you don't believe in my talking point, you the scum of the earth. I want to hear. That's the only way I grow and learn and get a better perspective on many different things.
Right.
So it's always good to hear opposing thoughts. That way you're not caught in the echo chamber. And why people oppose those thoughts. Why does somebody say this or somebody say that? If you don't hear an opposing thought, opposing view, then you're stuck in the echo chamber.
Right. You'll never learn anything new.
Exactly. Man of Tomorrow, I really appreciate you coming up here and sharing your thoughts, your views, your insights, and everything else. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do that.
Yeah, no problem, man. My final thoughts are it's good to hear other older individuals within this space. Welcome, sir. Because I really want to get to know this guy that's on the panel here, older individual. Yeah, but it's that you have to understand that we have this lack of principle problem within the Black Yeah, well, not even black. It's kind of American at this point.
Okay.
That they get buried with views and platform largesse, and all this kind of stuff. But people get away from the basic line of what is being solved
Excuse me.
here,
hmm
because a
Mm.
lot of this stuff, like, you could take these people that are here, you put them in any other situation, it won't work. For me, I mean, I'm a competent guy. I had to do all of this stuff by being competent and reading up on things and knowing how things work, from
Hmm.
law enforcement to the military to moving drugs to the DEA, just all types of stuff. I had to be plugged in and involved with things. I couldn't just go places and wing it at no point in my life. YouTube seemed to be a place where people totally wing it.
Right. Right.
and
Yes,
and
you're
they
right.
seem to be getting rewarded for it. And it's like, whenever
Wow.
you bring reason into the room and rationality into the room, and you ask basic questions, all of a sudden, up is down, down is up, Z is A, F is Q, and it's like,
Truth.
wait a
Truth.
minute.
Wow.
That's deep. What Luke Casey say? Let's see. I don't see. Once I watched him once, that was all it took for me to see his snake oil salesman presentation. She's talking about
Derrick Jaxn.
Derrick Jaxn.
and
Okay.
here's the
Yeah.
thing. That's the appropriate response that I should see from a woman every time. If I don't
Mm.
like when I used to get these people off of my timeline on Facebook, there are some things that Derrick Jaxn say that are true,
Right.
Right. Right.
unequivocally.
Right.
But if you're sharing quotes from Derrick Jaxn to where you just want him to be dumping on the men and just let you off the hook for your relationship issues, I'm like, God, but the snake oil, you can see it everywhere. Like, you hold a black light up to it, like, yeah, it's still snake oil.
Right.
But
Right.
but but at the end of the day, you don't keep needing to be represented with that idea for 7 years before you to realize this guy was going to cheat on his wife. Come on.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's no way that she
It
could
was
go to bed.
inevitable, right? Inevitable.
Yes. No. I mean, but this stuff probably happened all throughout the relationship. It just wasn't as public.
I think
Right.
you're absolutely right. I
It
do
wasn't
believe this happened.
exposed. Exactly.
We didn't know about it. Right. Right. Right.
Because when it
Wow.
came to one woman, it was always 7 or 8 more women when the dam broke for one in both cases.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sad, man. And I think they got like 3 kids or something like that too. Like, that's what I don't like about these personas, man. Bro, you got kids up in this. You
Yeah.
Exactly.
humiliating your whole family behind this.
Exactly.
Man, bro, your kid your kid can go to school, and you know how horrible these kids are to people. Oh, I see your mom and daddy on TV, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Why would your
Exactly.
kid have to worry about that? Because you don't know how to act.
Devastating. Devastating. Mm.
Yeah, and this is social media, which means it's up here for life,
Forever.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And think about it. Even I'm not saying he'll ever go back to working for somebody, but how many people can just Google your name, and get that kind of information. So yeah. Vaughn, what do you got to say?
Wow, man. Listen, Uncle Stu, it's been a while, right? Since I've been on one of your lives.
Mhm.
But man, listen, this was very fruitful to me, and I would have to say I so appreciate this brother, man of tomorrow. I want to call him man of today. but you know what I'm saying? Someone with that type of perspective, and it is precise to my sentiments as well.
Mhm.
And I listened to this young man, and I'm like, it's so refreshing to hear him speak on these topics the way that he has, because if I say it, I'm an old head. I don't get it. I don't understand, But man, to hear him, you know, to just speak some of the same things that I have been feeling and saying, man, that was so refreshing to me. Now the conversation, you know, about this brother Derrick, I would have to say this, you know, and in all honesty, listen, I'm not trying to point the finger at anybody because, see, listen, we've all sinned and we've all fell and we've all slipped and some of us have slided. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, not to condone anything that is wrong, you know, and not to give an excuse, you know, for a person that is doing wrong. We recognize right when it's right and we recognize wrong when it is wrong, you know. So I don't have a stone to throw at this brother. You know, it's not like I'm condemning him, but I'm definitely judging his fruit. You see what I'm saying? Is it an apple? Is it an orange? Is it a peach? Is it a pear? You see what I'm saying? And basically, you're wrong. You're just simply wrong. You know,
Right.
you've been very pretentious out in these YouTube streets. You've been talking a talk that you're not walking, you know, and it's just like the Wizard of Oz where they pull back the curtain and now you see it's just a regular person. See what I'm saying? Trying to have this big voice.
Right.
Wow. You know, and this is the reality, you know. And so my suggestion is to a lot of the young ladies and the young men, pay attention, you know, pay attention. You know, don't just go along to get along because it's the new fad. You know, the majority, and don't ever forget this, the majority is wrong the majority of the time. You have to understand that. You just can't follow a crowd of people. You know, it's like that Pied Piper syndrome. You see what I'm saying? You're following the music to the flute player. And where is he leading you? Down a path of destruction. You know, so we have to have our eyes open. We have to be attentive, especially in these spaces, just like a man of tomorrow was saying. You know what I'm saying? You know, you presenting a facade, but we, some of us can see, you know, behind what you're doing. And so, brother, man of tomorrow, man, listen, man, you had the show tonight. Everybody that was on the panel, man, I appreciated them last call and MGTOW, that brother, and Wally. You see what I'm saying? You know, everybody that was on the panel, man, I did gain something from it. And so, Uncle Stu, man, I look forward to these conversations again. You know, I can't wait to the next live whenever you decide to do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And to everybody that came out in the chat, y'all could have been anywhere on these YouTube streets listening to any other conversation, but you came right here to hang out with Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. And I really love and appreciate every single one of y'all here tonight. And for that, we're going to shut down the stream. Peace. Hey, y'all, if y'all want to hang out in the back, y'all can. I'm about to shut it down.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm still here.